Zimbabwe goes for harmonized polls on August 23, and a significant decrease in contestants across the country has been noted from the list of candidates gazetted by the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission on Friday. Now, different sentiments have been shared as contributing factors to the scenario. Now, our reporter, Ms. Ngwebu, will be giving us a report on that. But for now, we look at the number of presidential candidates. And now they have been down from 23 in 2018 to 11 in 2023. And a total of 637 candidates are competing for the 210 National Assembly seats, down from 1,648 in 2018. Now, the number of political parties in 2023 elections are also down from 55 in 2018 to 19 this time around. A total of 70 out of 637 House of Assembly candidates are women. This is 11% compared to 14% in 2018. ZANU-PF has won 92 council seats unopposed from 51 in 2018. And now we're joined by political analyst Richard Mahomva to discuss the matter further. Very good evening to you, Mr. Mahomva. Thank you for coming through.
Thank you for having me.
All right, it's always a pleasure. Now, what may have led to the low number of candidates registered for 2023 general election?
For starters, it could be the lack of preparedness on the part of the political parties that some belong to. It could also be their failure also to meet up with the costs of the participating in the elections as far as filing their nomination papers is concerned. And you'd also recall that in our context, we run a harmonized election type of framework, which for some novice political parties or some small political parties might have been out of their financial reach for them to participate. And again, lack of preparedness to contest, of course, a seemingly winning incumbent ruling party.
All right, now there's also an outcry that women are marginalized from participating in the House Assembly. What do you make out of the 70 out of 637 female candidates?
Whilst we understand that the Constitution provides for issues of gender equality, but it is difficult for anyone to expect ZEC to impose women to participate. And again, it is narrow for us to expect that any democratic maturation of any society should translate to a participation of a particular amount of youth, a particular amount of women in the elections. So it is not cast on stone that a particular amount of women are supposed to participate. In my view, I think that is very critical. And in any case, the institutions that should be complaining are political parties like your ZANU-PF and maybe CCC, but you are not seeing this from mainstream political parties, and you're having third parties communicating this narrative as if they want specific women taking up the lead.
All right, let's look at the different categories: the presidential, the House of Assembly, and councils. What does this mean for the different political parties as well as the country?
As a starting point, you'd also recall that in some instances, you've got certain political parties that were not putting up their structures in place so that they have a formidable win. And in some instances, I would also want to come back to the gender bit, to things that if you follow the UNDP Gender and Social Norms Index, it even points out to a situation whereby 98% of women have got a bias towards each other and taking up the lead. So there are these overarching structural issues that one can consider when it comes to the forthcoming elections and the participation of political parties.
All right. Now, also, do you think that the way parties went about their registration with ZEC reflects on how organized they are as a party?
I would like to say in some instances, ZEC has prejudiced certain political parties. I'll give a case in point for Bulawayo, where they received nominations late for Triple C candidates. And that on its own is also reflective of the sense of chaos that is translating into a broader national political spectrum, where you also have certain political parties duplicating their fielding of candidates. So that is quite reflective of perhaps maybe factional challenges within certain parties, and that has a spilling effect on the democratic course of issues. As if that is not enough, if you read the Sunday News for this last week's edition, you'd also take note that there are some candidates that have got criminal records but that found themselves being nominated and being eligible candidates. So I think there is a lot of work that needs also to be done in terms of protecting political parties that have got integrity, in this case on the part of ZANU-PF.
All right. Now, we also saw other parties that submitted their papers late, their nominations papers, that is. Some did not have their papers in order. What is your view of such a situation as we head towards the harmonized elections?
It's the starting point of rigging. And also it's the starting point of violation of electoral laws. So at the end of the day, it presents us with a severe electoral crisis where certain political parties that submitted in time are being prejudiced, where certain political parties that were organizing themselves to follow legitimate processes become undermined. So it's creating a very unfair situation, especially on the part of political parties like ZANU-PF that had put their act together, and yet you have got an incompetent and disorganized opposition political body that somehow manipulated its luck through ZEC to actually prejudice processes and violate statutory provisions of the electoral law.
All right. Now, before you go, Mr. Mahomva, do you think the reduced number of candidates may have deprived the electorate of some candidates who had better things to offer to the country?
It is not about the increase or the reduction in terms of the candidates, but it is about the policies that political parties sell. Because when political parties go for elections, they sell policies that are viable. And in this case, you've got certain political parties that have been thriving on the economic crisis that Zimbabweans have been going through, and another political party that has been saying, this is what we have done in the health sector, this is what we have done in the education sector. We have got a 12 billion mining industry type of setup. So it is about policies. It is not about the reduction in terms of the political parties. It is not about the reduction in terms of the candidates, but it is what political parties are selling their policies, and their policies are going to be the marketing point for their entrance or exit out of office, or even not being given access into office at all.
Right. Well, thank you very much for that analysis, Mr. Mahomva. That was political analyst Richard Mahomva giving us some analysis over there. But we were going to hear from our reporter, Mercy Ngwepu.
It's confirmed. ZANU-PF stands uncontested in 92 council seats, up from the 51 in 2018. National Political Commissar Mike Bima says it's a step in the right direction for the party.
We are ready for a battle, and whoever thinks has got the stamina is, please, let's go and get into the arena. So it's not really a big issue.
One of the 11 presidential candidates, Trust Chikohora, of the Zimbabwe Coalition for Peace and Development, says the prevailing economic environment is not favorable for many.
From respective political parties, the protective clause aspect on female candidates was minimal. It was free for all, and naturally, men tend to outsmart women in majority of election shenanigans.
Unlike in 2018, when 4 women ran for president, 2023 has none. After failing to make the cut for the presidential race, lead party president Linda Masarira insists women in politics have the odds against them.
It is not a surprise to me because I had actually foreseen this, that this year there are going to be a very limited number of women participating for public office. It is a real cause of concern, and it just shows how women are still being treated as second-class citizens in political party structures, in intra-party politics, and women have to rise to the occasion.
Political analyst Nabot Zewaguru acknowledges the significant drop in women's participation in this year's harmonized elections.
Financial burden that has been increased significantly, very significantly for that matter. So to explain all these statistics of downward movement from 2018 to 2023 in terms of contestants for everything, the big issue is the finance. It's the nomination fee. That's the big issue.
With the final candidates list now out, ZEC is seized with distributing electronic voters' roll to the contestants. Yet another step closer to Election Day. For ZTN Prime, I'm Messi Ngwevum in Harare.